Hi, this is Pamela Darling-Fascio. I work in the ELC on the McKinney campus. This workshop is going to demonstrate some of the features in the new Canvas Gradebook. Canvas adopted this new gradebook and made it available for beta testing about a year ago. Collin College has instituted the gradebook in May of 2019, so this is going to look at some of the new features that you can use in the gradebook. So we have this Canvas readiness course that we use at the ELC for demonstration purposes. So this is the home page. I want to first look at the assignments. The assignments area hasn't changed. When you create any kind of graded assignment, whether it be a file upload, a discussion that's graded, or a quiz, it automatically creates a column in your gradebook. This gradebook is set up with weighted grading. You can see the different assignment groups here and their weighting totals. You can also click the dots up at the top for the assignment settings, and that'll give you the summary of all of the different groups with their weight. In the quizzes group, I do have two rules set on that one. One is to drop the lowest score, but to never drop the class orientation. I have the class orientation in this one set up as extra credit, so there's no points associated with the quiz, but when I apply points, it goes above and beyond what the quiz points are. So to get into the grades, I'm just going to click the grades link from the navigation. And you can see the gradebook here. So generally the columns look the same. The menus are what have changed in the gradebook. So up at the top, we have a gradebook menu now. If I click the drop-down arrow next to gradebook menu, you can see that I can look at the gradebook in an individual view or gradebook history, or the default view is just gradebook, which is what we're looking at now. If I switch to individual view, I'll be able to look at different sections of a course. I can look at assignments and sort them. I can automatically treat anything ungraded as 0, hide student names, etc. You can also download a copy of your gradebook from here using the CSV option. I can also go down to the content area and select a particular student that I want to look at. When I pick one student, under the student information, I have all the information about that student with their grading groups, how they're doing in each one, and then how they're doing in class overall. From here, I can also scroll to the next student or the previous student. When I'm ready to return to the normal gradebook view, I can go up to the top, click the drop-down arrow next to individual view, and go back to gradebook. My other option for view was a gradebook history. Gradebook history will show me the history of what's happened in this course. In this course, because it's a demonstration, we have a number of people who kind of work with it. So you can see in the grader column all of the different people that have had access to the gradebook and have made changes. In the gradebook, it'll show us the date and time the change was made, the student, who the grader was, the assignment, and then any before, after, and the current scores. And this will be, for example, 5 out of 10 points on quiz 4. In this gradebook history, I can also do a filter. So if I want to look just at one particular grader, it tells me I can start typing their name. So I'll put my own name in here. And then once I filter it, I can see just the things that I've done in the gradebook, and I'm not seeing everyone. With the filter, I can just remove the name that I've typed in here using the backspace key and hit filter again. And it'll show all the graders again. To get back to the gradebook view that I was looking at before, the default view, I just click Grades from the course navigation. Under the View menu, we have different options to arrange our gradebook. We can arrange it in default order, which is what you see here, by assignment name, by due date, points value, or by module. We can also filter the gradebook by assignment groups or by modules. If I wanted to look at the quizzes for this gradebook, I can filter, choose my assignment group. It gives me a new drop down over here, and I'll look at quizzes. So now I'm only seeing the things that are in that quizzes group. If I want to unfilter it, I go back to View, Filter, and click the check mark to remove the filter that I had applied. Also in View, we have statuses. You may have noticed colors showing up in your gradebook now. These are based on the statuses. For a status for a late is going to be yellow, missing will be orange. Resubmitted Maybe you allow students to do a pre-draft of their essay and then a final draft. You can do resubmitted, so it'll show the second submission in green. Dropped and excused. You can also change the color of a status. For example, if you want excused to be in brown, you can click the brown color and click apply. If you know the hex code for a color, you can use that as well just by typing it in here. And then click done. Now any assignment that's excused is going to be in brown. You may see a little bit of color variation. These are both purple. It's just that one color row is banded so that you can differentiate one row from the next, so it shows up in a shade darker. Color statuses automatically apply. So for example, we have a color status for late and missing. Those will automatically be applied if you have a due date in your assignment. If there's no due date, then Canvas wouldn't know when an assignment was late or missing. You can see that dropped is in purple. So in the quiz area, the dropped is the lowest score. So for each student, it's picking up the lowest score and dropping it from their grade. And that's based on the rule that I had set in the assignments. Also under the view, you have two new columns that you can look at in your gradebook. The first is a notes column. You can toggle these on and off just by clicking them. I can add a note in here about a student, letting me know that the student will be absent or maybe they're submitting something late. Once that's occurred, I can delete the note and save it. And again, I can toggle this on and off using the view. The other view that you can toggle is Unpublished Assignments. You may have assignments that you've created, but you haven't published them yet for the students to view. If they're unpublished, students do not have access to them, and by default, they're not going to show in your gradebook unless you have this unpublished check. Once I've clicked unpublished, any assignment that I have not yet published will show up in the gradebook. It still will not be accessible to students until it's published. The third option here is Actions. Actions are also where you can import or export your gradebook. At the end of each term, typically you'll need to send a copy of your gradebook as a CSV or comma-separated value, usually an Excel file, to your associate dean or program coordinator. You can use the export feature here to set that up. The import feature would allow you to import grades from another gradebook. You may be using publisher content and keeping a gradebook there that you want to then import into Canvas. Most publisher content has a sync feature, so it's usually not necessary to do an import. Imports can be very tricky. All assignment names and student names must be typed identically. So for example, you may have a student that goes by a different name and they created their account in Pearson Publishing and they used a nickname there. It's not going to find a match for that. So the import can again be tricky. Your best option is to use a sync when possible. There is also a list here of keyboard shortcuts that you can use when you're in the gradebook. And then finally, over on the far side, you can do a search. So I can start typing the first few letters of a student's name and it'll automatically filter the gradebook out to show just that student. So it's again giving us somewhat of an individual view. To remove the filter, I just backspace to get rid of the characters that I typed. There's also a cog wheel over on the side here, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Within the gradebook and each assignment, you also have a menu. The first is under the student name. If I click the settings here, I can sort the gradebook by students A to Z or Z to A. I can choose to display them with first name first or last name first. I can also add secondary information, such as their student information, integration numbers, or username. I can also show inactive or concluded enrollments. Each assignment also has its own settings. You can link directly to the assignment by clicking the name of the assignment in the gradebook. You can also look at settings that are assignment related in the gradebook. From the gradebook here, I can sort it. I can message students. I can set up a grade curve, a default grade. I can hide the grades so students can't see any grades or comments. I can enter grades as points or percentages and set a grade posting policy. So one of the tools that I use in here a lot is the message students. When I look at quiz 1, I can see that only really one student has submitted it. The test student never comes up on the message students because there's no valid email address for a test student. And although this student has a grade of 0, I allow them to take it again so they can try the quiz because it's not showing as that grade. If I click the message students who, I can choose to message students who haven't submitted yet. It automatically puts their name in here. It gives a subject line, but I can change that. So no submission for quiz 1 due by 10:15. And I can type a message to those students and then click send message. If I know that I've already talked to one particular student, maybe I've spoken with Ophelia, I can click the X next to her name and she will not get the message. There are other options in here as well. I can message students who haven't been graded, letting the student know maybe, I have your work, just wanted to let you know I'll be grading it this weekend. Or maybe I allow students to submit the quiz more than once, so I might want to message students who have scored less than a 7. So then only those students who have taken it, scored less than a 7, are going to get it, and my comment might be, don't forget you can take this quiz multiple times in order to earn a passing grade. The other thing that I wanted to show you is this red eye. The red eye will appear when you have a policy set on an assignment that tells the assignment to not post grades automatically as you grade your work, and when grades have been hidden from the class. When grades are hidden, not only is the grade hidden, but any comments associated with the grade is hidden as well. So these students have been graded, but because their grades are hidden, they're not able to see those. If I click the settings, I can post the grades. I get a pop-up here telling me SA2, there are 3 hidden, because again, it doesn't count the test student. And I have a choice of having everyone's grades posted or just those that have been graded posted. I'm going to go ahead and post everyone's grade, so I'll click post. It's going to post the grades to the students, so now if students have their notification turned on, they're going to get a notification that their grade has been released for SA2. The red eye changes to this black eye with an outline. The black eye is still there because any new grades that I enter are not going to be posted because I have a manual grade policy set up on this assignment. If I want to remove the manual grade policy, I can again use the settings and look at my grade posting policy. In the grade posting policy, I have it set for manual. It tells me right here what manual means. The grade will not be released, grade notifications will not be sent, submission comments, and curving is not available either. I'm okay with students receiving their grade now, so I'm going to go ahead and click automatic to change that. This is a tool that I use if I have, for example, a midterm or a final that I'm giving to the class. I want to be able to grade these as they come in so I don't have 30 to grade at once, but I don't want students to see their score until everyone's been graded. So I'll turn on a manual grade policy and I'll hide the grades until everyone has been graded and the due date has passed. Then I'll go ahead and release all the scores at once. So with my automatic grade policy now set, I'll go ahead and click save. And that eye goes away. Some of the other enhancements have been to the grade tray. The grade tray is this area here at the intersection of the assignment and the student. This particular essay is set up with a letter grade as our grading policy. If I go into the essay settings, I can see where I've set that assignment up as a letter grade. Under display grade as, you have an option of a percentage, complete or incomplete, points, letter grade, or GPA. This one's set as a letter grade, and my letter grade is based on my grading scheme that I've also set up. In Canvas, when you use a letter grade and you have a grading scheme, Canvas is going to give the highest possible points for that letter grade. So for example, this student, if they earn a B, they're going to get 89 points because that's the highest you can earn in the B range. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to grades. And in this grade tray, I can click the drop-down arrow and I see all of those letter grade choices that I have available. So I'll go ahead and give the student a B on this one. There's also an arrow here in the grade tray that I can click and that'll expand this grade tray open for me. In here, I can access the student directly by clicking on their name. This will give me some of the analytics about the student. I can go to the next or the previous student. I can access the assignment directly from here, and again, go to the next or the previous assignment in the gradebook. I can also access Speedgrader. I can enter a grade, and I can enter a status. I can't enter all the different statuses we saw, but I can do a late, a missing, or an excused. I can also enter a comment here. When I'm done with the grade tray, I just click the X to close it. So it's a quick way to be able to grade your assignments just using this grade tray and clicking on the drop-down. If it's an assignment that has a point value associated with it, you can go into the grade tray and just type in the points. You can also expand that out onto the side. You get the same options there. This welcome assignment here I have set up as an incomplete or complete. So in my grade tray, my options are complete, which is the check mark, incomplete, ungraded, or excused. If I give the student a complete, then they earn the full possible points. This is worth 10 points, so they would earn 10 points. If I give the student an incomplete, then they earn 0 of the possible points. And you can see that this welcome is going into participation. So this student has the X, they get 0 points. This student has the check, and they get 100 points. One of the other new features is that you can drag and drop columns. So right now my gradebook is set up in this order, showing my essays, my orientation, quizzes, and the welcome. If I want to put my totals of my essays next to essays, I can just click in this column and drag it over, and it'll populate right there. Same thing with quizzes. I can drag this over, and now I have all of my quizzes and then the total of my quizzes. So it's easy to drag and drop. You can also change the width of a column. If I want to see more of this column, I can drag it out and make it larger. When you make one column larger, it's going to cause some others to fall off of the edge of the page because you can only see so much within your window. So the last thing we are going to talk about here is this cog wheel over on the side. The cog wheel now has 2 different tabs in it. One is for the late policy, and one is for the grade posting policy. So the late policy, the first section, will automatically apply a grade for a missing submission. Again, a missing submission is an assignment that is not submitted by the due date that's posted in the assignment. With the check mark here, it means that automatically grade for missing submissions is 0%. So if a student does not submit something by the due date, they're going to get a 0 on that. And if they have notifications turned on, they should get a notification as well. You want to apply 0s to any missing assignments. If you don't, then the assignment is not counted in the student view of the gradebook. They may think they're passing the class when in actuality they've really turned in nothing. Your other policy down here is a late policy. Again, this is checked, but you have to have a due date set in order for the policy to apply. You can set a late policy that deducts a certain percentage based on a day or an hour up to a maximum percentage. So this late policy is going to deduct 10% per day up to 50%. Both of these policies are global to the gradebook. They will apply to every assignment. You can't say, don't apply to this assignment. Like, for example, in the quizzes, we have a rule that says drop the lowest, but never drop this one. You can't do this in the gradebook for any automatic missing submissions or late policy. It's going to just automatically apply to every assignment in the gradebook. So you have to be careful when you're using that. The other tab is for the grade posting policy. We looked at the grade posting policy on an individual assignment, but this is the grade posting policy for the total gradebook. You're typically going to want to make sure that your grade posting policy is set to automatic. If you don't have it set to automatic and you have it set to manual, all grades will be hidden from students until you manually go into each assignment and post the grade. And if you have the policy set up again on the assignment as manual posting and you regrade students or new assignments come in, you have to repost those grades. It's not going to automatically post any grade. You may have a quiz that you allow students to take multiple times. If you have a manual grade policy set on that quiz, the student won't be able to see their score on their first attempt and know if they need to take a second attempt. If you want to use the automatic posting and hiding of grades, then it's best to do so in the individual assignment and not in the gradebook globally. So that's it. I hope that this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please let us know. Our email and our phone number are here on the screen, and we look forward to helping you with your gradebook.